through the objectives. So for this webinar, I'll be answering this question mostly: how can team working times actually benefit my members' development? I know you guys as team leaders really do feel pressured, especially at this time. It's already being past peak. Maybe your VP has been coming to you and being like, oh, where are the results? Where are the results? But I want you guys to really think about, like, you being a team leader is actually, we are here to deliver results, but most importantly, it's for our members' development. So, but how can team working times actually contribute to that? I'll talk about that with linking this to my own story as a team leader. Actually, as a team leader, I didn't really focus that much on results. I focused a lot on my members' development because I really thought that, like, I really wanted all my members to actually have something that they could take away from ISEC, whether or not they did leave after 1 week, whether or not they did leave after a semester. I want them to think that they actually gained something out of this organization and actually impacted them, and they can actually take something away from it. But how I actually did that was making sure they actually do all the work I taught them to do, make sure I actually empower them to do it, motivate them, and actually that's how I got them to achieve in the end, and that's how we got the most results. And this is how team working times actually can bring the results that you guys want to see. Let's go back to this one. A lot of times in ISEC, we actually forget to see, like, how can ISEC benefit a member outside their ISEC journey after they leave ISEC. And the most important thing that we always lose focus on is, like, how can this actually benefit a member and the career development in the future. So a simple example is, if your member wants to be a CEO in the future, them being productive in ISEC is really important, because ISEC, we're here to deliver them all the skills and all the necessary, like, tools that can actually help them in the future. Like, for example, as a CEO, you need to know, like, necessary departments, things like that. And how can you actually, like, as a team leader, make sure they have the necessary skills in the first place? You make sure that you actually make sure your members are productive and they actually do the work, and actually to even be able to get the skills afterwards. And so that's how we talk about results. How can team working times actually bring the results that you want to see? With team working times, it focuses a lot on being on the ground as a team leader, being with your members and actually seeing what exactly do they do, and notice any, like, skill gaps that they have. This is where you actually work together with your team. You can, like, test out, like, oh, how do they actually perform consultancy chats? How do they actually perform cold calls? And you can provide things like on-the-spot training. You can provide, like, instant, like, recognition, celebrate wins, things like that. So what now? What we need to talk about first is where we are as a nation. So at the moment, we've gone through building the whole of building phase, and we're still we're still on performing stage. We've gone through performance tracking and support system, and I think only until we finish fulfilling the performing phase will we actually be able to develop and reach that stage for our members. And so for the past 2 months, you guys have been going through PDPs, one-to-ones, and performance review. You guys really been sitting down with your members, like, setting some goals with them, and actually having one-to-ones with them, giving them feedback, looking at the GVA, looking at, like, any struggles they have, and actually provide some training for them. But I really want to talk about how, like, this is not your only role as a team leader. I don't want you guys to be doing this for your whole semester, because doing PDPs and doing one-to-ones, it won't be useful if you keep on doing the same things. But we actually need to give our members the space to actually perform, and you as team leaders be able to actually experience and actually visualize what exactly they do. And so 2 months have passed, and 2 months to go, and we're still stuck at the point that, well, we're still doing performance tracking, and we're still doing things like support the network, but we're not at the stage that we actually are able to see the results. Currently in the nation, we're still stuck on the 17% members achieving 100% of their goals, where our goal is 70% members achieving 100% of goals. We're not even actually at 25% of the way. How can we actually be at the stage and really quickly be at the stage where we can actually see results come in and really be able to develop our members? So that's where results elevation comes in, and with that comes team working spaces. These are the spaces for teams to work together to achieve more results, recommended to be weekly. I'll go through this exactly later throughout the webinar, but that's one of the checklists in the team standards for results elevation. So what exactly are team working spaces? This is an example that I had for my last semester. This is our IGT team. So what they did during this time is they actually sit together as a team and they do lead gen together. And what else you can do is you can actually do cold calls with your team. Every member can sit together and actually do cold calls. And then after, or you can do things like practicing CCs and actually practice with your team leader or practice with each other. So how does team working spaces actually benefit your team? So let's start off with the 4 types of unproductive members. There's definitely more types of unproductive members, but these are the categories that I actually see most common in ISEC and things that I actually experience as a team leader. So the first one is keyboard warriors plus ghosters. What I want to do for this little part is I want you guys to go to chat, and when you actually see with the numbers here, I really want you guys to write down if you have that specific category of member in your team, can you guys write down 1 and then or 2, 3, 4 as I go on. I just want to see if these actually apply to your teams. Okay, so first one is keyboard warriors, and what do you mean? For example, if you have this specific member in your team, I'll explain each category. So number 1 would be keyboard warriors plus ghosters. So these are the people that actually spam the team group chat. They're always really lively, really happy. They really want to bond with their members. But when it actually comes to giving them work, they actually ghost you and see. So this is what I mean. So this is just an example of one unproductive member. So if you have this type of member, can you guys write 1 or 2, 3, 4? Yep, 1. Okay. Next type is 2, the magicians. So these are the people that actually disappear completely. When you actually check their Facebook and it says active 15 hours ago, or it says active 30 hours ago, and you wonder do they even own a phone? Do they even own a computer? And number 3, goldfish ate my homework. So these are the people that consistently give a lot of excuses. Sometimes they give excuses that actually don't even make sense. So if you have number 2 or 3, please write in the chat. Some members are all there at once. Oh my god. Yeah, 3. Okay, number 4 is cook math. So these are the people that actually do the work that you tell them to do. They actually sometimes overachieve. Like you can see here, this is actually a screenshot that I took from one of the PDPs that I had. So I had a member that actually had a goal of, let's say, 10 CCs, but they actually achieved 15 CCs. But in the end, they actually got 0 applicants, 0 assessed, 0 approved. But these are the people that they're actually doing the work, but they aren't producing enough results. So anyone who has 4 or 2? Okay, so let's move on. So these are the 3 things that you can do with these unproductive members. So number 1 would be firing them, number 2 would be doing nothing, and 3, developing. Let me use this analogy so it makes more sense. So firing your member would essentially be, actually before that, imagine your members as Pokemon. I know it sounds a bit weird, just imagine this for this analogy. So firing them would essentially be having your Pokemon and putting them back in the Pokeball and submitting them to the Pokemon Center PC and never using them, never actually bringing them to your team ever again. Number 2 would be doing nothing. So this would actually be having your, let's say, Charmander, and you never actually level them up to actually develop and actually evolve in the future. Number 3 would be actually developing your Pokemon/members. This is when they're actually able to release their potential. These are the people that, this is when members can be high performers and become the future leaders of your organization. So going back to the categories, so 1, keyboard warriors with ghosters. Just quick recap, these are people that spam the group chat, but they don't answer you when it comes to work. So the attributes of these people are they're social butterflies, they're fun-seeking, and they're distracted. Just distracted. So what team working times can actually do for them is, 1, energizing them to do work. These are the people that are like most likely extroverts. They get a lot of energy from working with others or being with others, and because of that, they increase the working atmosphere, and this can really benefit all the members in your team. 3, team bonding. Because of your members are together, it's seen more as a more fun environment, more than rather than them thinking that, oh, we're just here to do work. So 2, these are magicians. These are people that actually disappear completely when it comes to work. So these are the attributes of these people would be they're actually really busy / disorganized. 2, under the radar. 3, don't feel comfortable. To explain under the radar, these are the people that sometimes disappear because when your team leader gives them work and they're like, shit, I didn't actually do this work. I'm going to pretend that I never saw this message. I'll reply like when I actually finish the work. So these are the people that actually don't feel comfortable with their TL and actually telling them their reality. So what team working times can actually do for them is actually keeping them accountable. The team leader is actually there with them on the ground doing action spaces and seeing where exactly they're at, showing their reality, like how much of the work they've done, like where they're at in terms of skill level, things like that. And 3, team bonding again. So number 3, bareback goldfishes drowning. So these are people that give a lot of excuses when it comes to doing work. So these are people who are unreliable, they are difficult to manage, and 3, they're uncommitted to doing the work. So how team working times can actually benefit them is, 1, keeping them accountable again. 2, showing challenges, showing them showing team leaders especially why exactly are they giving excuses? Like most of the time, they might find like the work too difficult, or they're like too scared to do the work. For example, we had a member that was too scared to do cold calls, so they would pretend that they would actually tick off on the tracker that they did cold calls, but in reality, they kept giving excuses as to like, oh, why they didn't have CCs or why didn't they have applicants, things like that. And 3, you can actually motivate them, having the team leader there and actually helping them with giving them on-the-spot feedback that really helps them with challenges. Let me check chat for a bit. Can you give them examples of how you can keep them accountable and what sort of challenges would you suggest? Yep, I'll go through this later in the webinar because I have a summary on that. I'll cop up that for a bit. So number 4 would be quick maths. So these are the people that actually overachieve or achieve their lead goals, but it doesn't actually how do I go back? But it actually doesn't translate into results. So the attributes of these people are they're not proactive. 2, they're not working smart. 3, have potential. I would say they're not proactive or working smart in that they're constantly repeating the same mistakes that they're doing. Like for example, if they're having 15 CCs but not getting applicants, obviously they're repeating the same mistakes, especially in sales wise, they're repeating the same mistakes, such as they're not having a sense of urgency, they're not explaining concepts well that the customers are asking, things like that. They're not proactive, working smart. They're not asking T-levels why exactly they're not getting applicants, what is wrong with their sales pitch, things like that. And these are people that actually have potential. Once given enough training, enough motivation, they will achieve and eventually give you results in the end. So team working times can actually show skill gaps for these people. The team leaders are actually able to accurately see where exactly they're lacking. So in your action spaces, team leader can have I guess a pretend CC with them and pretend to be the EP, and that way they can actually see where exactly they're lacking at. 2, enforce training. That would be the training aspect. 3, motivating them. So in summary, to answer Kevin's question, team working times, as you can see with the 4 unproductive members, 1, it could increase productivity. 2, increase accountability. 3, social interaction. And 4, be able to accurately identify skill gaps. But the main purpose of this I really want to focus on is accountability and being able to accurately identify skill gaps. Because things like the productivity and social interaction, you can really do that in other spaces. But what team working times it really focuses on and really does best at is the accountability aspect and identifying skill gaps. And the reason why I say this is because the team leader is there with the members, you're actually on the ground and actually being able to see where exactly what exactly they're doing, where exactly they're lacking at, things like that. And the most important thing is they're able to do on the spot feedback and also celebrate wins and actually recognize progress, things like that. Let me go back to Kevin's question. Can you give them examples of how you can keep them accountable? Yeah, so actually being there and you're actually sitting with the TL and actually seeing like whether or not they're doing cold calls, whether or not they're doing their core work, things like that. Kevin, what do you mean by what sort of challenges would you suggest? Okay, so while Kevin answers that, I'll move on. But the main purpose for this, which I mentioned, is feedback, accountability, celebrating wins, and being able to accurately identify skill gaps. Like if they aren't hitting the goals. Like some challenges would be things like in your action space, in your team working times, you'll see like after you do a CC with your member, you find out like, for example, they're not getting applicants because their sales pitches aren't that strong, or if, for example, for IGT, the reason why they're not getting lead connects is because they're not doing the lead gens optimally. They're not doing like, for example, sending like the best emails, things like that. They're not researching enough about the company, things like that. So moving on. So this question is, how can our team truly work together if our JDs are so individualistic? This is the number one question that I actually get as a VP. This question was actually asked last webinar. A lot of times, like members and the team leaders always see like, we're always doing our OGV work, we're always doing Mac work, IGT, we're always like, we can actually do all the work on our own. We're actually at home doing our own cold calls. We're actually on our own at uni doing our CCs. We're on our own at IGT, writing emails or finding lead gens, things like that. But team working times, like it really emphasizes that you guys are here as a team. You guys are here to for our whole mission of PNF. We're all here to work together to have as many approvals as we can get, meetings, completes, and opens. But how can team working times actually contribute to that whole we're actually part of the team aspect? So number one is social interaction. So this is when like you guys as a team actually work together, and we work together and actually know that you guys are here as a team and actually contributing to the same thing. 2 is feedback, and 3 is P2P training. A lot of the times, a lot of the feedback and interactions will be solely the member and the team leader, but team working times can really emphasize that members can help each other out. If you have one member that, for example, is really hitting all of their goals, and then you have another member that's really struggling, you can actually, instead of you helping that member out, you have the member that's performing to actually help that member out. And that way, both members benefit from that. So cool, team working times can provide so many things, but what does this actually look like? So before I go into that, I want to explain the difference between action spaces and team working times. A lot of times we get mixed up between the two. We think team working times are action spaces, but I'll explain the whole action space. So when performing actions, let me go back. The difference between these two really quickly is action spaces are really formal. You guys as a team are really, the atmosphere is very like results oriented. We really need to get all the results that we want in this amount of time. But the other hand, team working times can incorporate action spaces, but they can also be things like for example, ISEC study space. It can just be like a chill session where you're like in a library room doing ISEC work together. It doesn't necessarily always have to be formal or like a strict environment. So before you start, I'm going to explain action spaces first. because action spaces are so formal, and I think like in ISEC especially, we don't run the most effective action spaces. So before you start, what you need to do is, one, think about objective. Think about what needs to be achieved in this amount of time. Like, are you setting this team working space because you want to see like increase accountability or increase productivity? Think about that before you set it up. Next is goals. What are the results do you guys want to see? Like at the end of the action space, do you want to like set like a goal, or every member has to get, for example, 1 CC booked at the end of this time, or every member has to finish all of their 50 cold calls, things like that. 3 is activities. What work will they be doing? Are they doing lead gen? Are they doing cold calls? Are they doing things like that? And number 4 would be time. How long will the space be? How long do you actually want to set out for them to achieve the objective, the goals, and the activities? So during this space. So again, it will be objective and activity, ensuring that members understand the objective of this team working space and actually being fulfilled in this space. Activity, members understand what work they need to do and actually fulfill them. 3 is feedback. You guys as TLs have to be able to give on-the-spot training. If your member encounters like a challenge, or if you see a specific like struggle that they're going through, you need to be able to on-the-spot give them training. Like, for example, if they do a CC, you need to locate accurately, and also immediately give them feedback like, oh, you're not doing the best pitches, you're not giving enough, you're not like explaining concept effectively, or you're not giving them enough time for the customer to actually express all their feelings and thoughts like that. Last one is gamify, incentivizing the whole space and making it fun. I know like a lot of times people like, no one actually wants to do work all the time. You need to make spaces like these especially fun. What you can do with this especially is, for example, having a scoreboard. For example, as soon as a member gets ACC booked, you can have like write it down with a whiteboard or have it down on a tracker, and making sure that you recognize the progress of your members and actually motivate the rest of the team. So after this space, this will be debrief. This is the most important thing that I would say would be for your team working spaces. After giving all this feedback for your members need to take all those learnings, all the things that they learned from the action space, and actually bring it back to their own operations when they do it on their own. Let me check chat. Yeah, let's get lit. Number 2 is action steps. After the debrief, using those learnings and actually setting action steps for your members so they know what exactly they need to do for the next week. For example, like if you identify during the team working time that the sales pitches aren't the best, you can give action steps like, oh, I need you to attend like, for example, 2 hours of info stores next week. So you can practice your sales pitches, things like that. 3, celebrate achievements from the space, really recognizing the progress of your members. And 4, get lit. After working so hard as a team, you guys can have some fun later. Next. So team working times. Wait, let me skip that. Again, like I just want to talk about how it doesn't always have to be formal, but it can be casual spaces where you can just sit around in the library and just do work together. But because we don't run them as effectively, I want you guys to at least keep in mind things like the objective, the activity, the feedback, and the gamify aspect. Okay, next. So I separate this slide into roles for TLs and then VPs and LCPs. What are the exact things that you guys can do in your role? So for TLs, it would be setting action space times during team meetings if the agenda allows. A lot of times I get my TLs coming up to me saying like, oh, I don't know what to say in this team meeting for the next week. I have like 30 minutes that I don't know what to do. Or they come up to me saying like, or for the next team meeting, I have no clue what to do. All my members know what they need to do. There's no new action steps for them to do. And what I always tell them to do is having team working spaces or action spaces where they actually sit down with their members and actually be able to use that time effectively and to get results. Because if they say like, oh, the members know exactly what they need to do, they can actually apply that in the space and use that time more effectively rather than having like a unproductive meeting. 2, set study ISEC sessions. So this is what I was talking about, having like casual team working spaces. And so the next part for VPs and LCPs, one strategy that I implemented for my LC is organizing a set time for your, no, actually, one strategy I implemented for my LC is organizing a set time for my LC. So what we have on a weekly basis is we booked out a room on Tuesdays before LCM, 1 to 4 p.m. Anyone can come in, and that's when a lot of people come and actually do work together because they see it more for the social interaction aspect. They think of it as more fun. They can bond and actually know members of the LC even better. And the first point is organizing a set time for your portfolio. This I think would be really important for VPs, especially because a lot of the times VPs don't exactly know what exactly the members are doing. They don't know like the levels of their members unless they get it through their TLs. It's always like through a filter and they don't know exactly what is going on. So I think organizing a time with your portfolio would be especially powerful. My chat, I second chill yum, yes. So for the key takeaways of this webinar, one thing these are the things that I really want you guys to take away. If you didn't listen to like a lot of the things, but make sure you listen for this part, is 1, making sure that your team working spaces actually make sure that it increases productivity, accountability. 3, social interaction, and 4, identifying skill gaps. So 1, 2, and 4, I would say would be really powerful from team working spaces because team leaders are actually there on the ground to see what exactly is going on, actually being with them and see the operations that go down. Because a lot of times team leaders are busy most of the time looking at the tracker, looking at the PDPs, going, why aren't I getting applicants? Why aren't I getting accepts? But when they actually go to the team working times and actually see like, oh, the reason why they're not getting applicants is because they don't do their CCs effectively. They have challenges such as like sales pitches problems, things like that. So to conclude this, people are the most important asset to achieving exchanges, and you guys as team leaders have the power to make or break the experience. And it is our responsibilities as team leaders because at the end of the day, that's what each member in ISEC in Australia deserves. So do you guys have any questions? I'll open up around 5 minutes for this. Or if we don't have any questions, we can move on. So if you don't have any questions, please type in like a wave. Okay, wait, I do, okay. Oh, Ivan raised hand. Okay, so Ivan says, what was your hardest experience as a TL? Let me think about this first, because that's quite a while ago. It would definitely be like the number 4 category of unproductive members. I had 2 members that were fulfilling all their work. They were doing all the work that I told them to do. They did the cold calls, actually overachieved in CCs, things like that, but they weren't getting enough applicants. They weren't getting enough accepts or approves. And back then we didn't have any like team standards that were actually like enforced or implemented that well. So me as a team leader, I didn't know that team working spaces would be so powerful. And it was only until like near the end of my semester where I was really like, shit, I really need to know what exactly my team members are doing. I really need to sit down with my members and see like where exactly they're lacking, instead of always looking at my tracker and always being in team meetings going like, oh, sorry, what did you guys do? Why aren't you guys getting this, etc. So that would be my hardest experience as a TL. So where is the schedule? Michael asks, what are some considerations to construct really productive team working spaces? I mentioned this earlier, but I would say the most important things would be setting the objective of it. What do you really want to gain out of the team working space? 2 would be what goals do you want to set for the space. For example, you can go into this space, and at the beginning of the space, you can be like to your members, if you want to be like hello red, you can be like, oh, you guys aren't leaving until one of you guys gets an applicant, things like that. Set out like specific goals that you want to achieve from the space, so it's more effective and you're not wasting the time. Anyone else have more questions? So Michael says, also when dealing with members who are hard to work with, what is your advice with being balanced? Do you mean like balancing the time between, oh wait, so like not being too hard ass, they get even less productive? My advice would be, if they're hard to work with and they're unproductive, I would say like don't focus so much on being results oriented. Don't always be like, oh, where are my proofs, where are my opens, where are my meetings? But actually sitting down with them in one-to-ones and actually asking them like, what are the challenges that they're facing? What do they want to get out of ISEC? Do they think they're actually working towards what they want to get out of ISEC? Really, but in summary, it would be really being there to follow your member and empowering them. So not focusing so much on results, because that's the thing that really scares them away. They think of you guys as like, oh, you're only using them to get approved, you're only using them to get meetings, things like that. Young Michelle, what? I'm pretty sure I'm young, the same age as you. Okay, so Keith says, how do you think we can create an environment where members can learn from each other? I think this would especially be like having those spaces where members can work together. This can be in team working time, this can be in team meetings, or this can be during LCM portfolio spaces. Actually talking to the member that is achieving and setting them with like the objective of, oh, I need you to talk to this member and really help them out, or talk to the member that is struggling and be like, oh, you can learn more if you talk to this member, and actually have those people like work together and train each other. Yes, Ivan's very old. Holy shit, 22. Okay, does anyone have any more questions? If not, wave. Wave. Okay, I love waves. All right, let's move on. I want you guys to go back to this link. Hold on. Oh, oops. Yeah, let me type. Okay, I want you guys to go back on this link. I'm gonna ask another question. All I'm just gonna ask is for you guys to. Oh wait, I don't know how to use this thing properly. Okay. So my question would be, what do you want to see in the future webinars? So this would be like, what exactly do you want to learn? If you had like an objective that wasn't fulfilled by this webinar, what more do you want to learn so that the other EC members can address? Kevin, you already have a girlfriend. It's us here. So these things can be, for example, specific things in the team standards that you're not too sure about how to implement them, things like that. How to be cool like you? So it's not possible. Too cool. Okay. Any more? So I'll give 2 minutes on this. If there's nothing else, I'll move on. So I'd like to see different activities going through a team meeting, like sessions from conferences and things like that. Or like lead sessions during a team meeting. Yep. Like how to perform that. Yep. Cool. We'd like to see webinars on situational leadership plus management. Okay, so this thing, I would say this specific point should be like addressed from the beginning for team leaders. Like, for example, your team leader induction, where you really set out, because right now we're nearly the midway of our semester, and like like teaching them how to be leaders and how to manage their members halfway through the semester. But till forget, it's not like that. I'm confused. Kevin, can you elaborate? It's about looking at different levels of each member. Yep. Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I did this in my tail induction, but it's a good point to go back to it to look at the different levels, because you can't really address it that well in the beginning. Competency and like attitude wise. Yep. This is, oh wait, no mind. What has been rewarding in your journey this year so far? Yep. Wait, is this a question to me, or is this like a what you want like the speakers to talk about? All right, I'll put 2 more minutes. Because I think there's a lot of ways of doing situational leadership anyone's done in peer induction. Yep. Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'll relay that to the other members of the ESD team. And can also I guess like what we did last week was put a poll for TMVP to vote on what they think their membership needs. So you can see that later. If needed, how to address leadership pipeline. Yeah, that's super important since we need TLs really soon, TLs up in the future, and semester 2 is coming up. Yep, agreed. Okay, 1 more minute. Nice. Hello. What the heck? Oh my god. How to get a girlfriend or boyfriend? You already have the girlfriend cap. Some of my members need it. Yeah, sure. Sure about you. Oh my god. Okay. The other one is how to run hacking spaces. Yep. Okay, I'll pull it 15 more seconds. Oh my god. Okay, let's move on. Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you guys for really, this will be the end of the webinar. Thank you guys for really taking your time out of your day, especially in this public holiday. Thank you for coming. You guys can leave now. No worries. Hey, at least I don't sound like Elmer like you. Yeah, so I'm gonna like float about for 2 more minutes if you wanna ask any additional questions. How often do you run your MVMs? Yeah, about that, like we really fucked up with MVM. So what we do instead is we have split tracks every LCM where we talk, like we have like, for example, our VP F&G to address members and do a session with them, and the rest of the VPs plus me do like a mini MBM every week for our TLs. But we do it weekly instead of fortnightly. Okay, thank you. You're the best VP at EV. Fuck you. What did you put in them? So what I do is really situational. So for example, if one week I see a lot of problems, like for example engagement, and I go through like I just basically do like hacking sessions, like how do we increase engagement, what are the levels of engagement, and really asking them about like to talk about each member, things like that. Also for productivity wise, I bring out like trackers, and then I'll talk about like any like analysis that I had from them and address any assumptions that I have made, and really like it's like a really good touch point, especially for TMVPs to TLs.